Where the light from our sun fades into silence, something drifts, ancient, solitary, and unblinking. It does not breathe. It does not sleep. It only listens. A machine older than most living things on Earth. A quiet journey into the unknown. It carries no crew, no cameras still active, no expectation of rescue. And yet, it moves still, 23 billion kilometers from Earth, on a path no human eye will ever see again. Inside its aging core, instruments flicker. A faint pulse. A whisper. And then, a glitch. A ripple in the signal. Not random, not noise. Something deliberate. It began as a pulse. Soft, simple. Then came the patterns. They were not human. But they were not natural, either. Geometries appeared in the data. Fractals. Repeating spirals. Symmetries born of neither chance nor chaos. They spoke in mathematics, not in words. No origin could be found. The stars around Voyager 2 were quiet. Nothing was broadcasting, at least, not conventionally. And yet the probe's data had changed. Modified. Altered in mid-transmission. It was as if something had written a reply into the silence between Earth and the stars. Something was there. Not a star. Not a rock. Not a comet. It moved. Intentionally. Smoothly. As if aware of being watched. An object. Dark. Fast. Invisible to the eye, but not to the field. It traveled alongside Voyager, never touching, never stopping. Just observing. A perfect shadow to a probe that had no soul to fear. The scientists argued. They blamed static, software drift, cosmic rays. But the anomaly returned. Again. And again. Each pulse more refined. Each waveform more structured. Not language, not yet, but purpose. Something was sculpting information. Not sending it. Embedding it. Then came the echo. A global network of radio telescopes began detecting phantom signals. Faint. Mirrored. Reflected versions of Voyager's signal, but inverted. As if the universe had replayed our message, backward. Triangulation showed no source. The signals arrived from every direction. Simultaneous. Impossible. But not meaningless. Eye systems across observatories began to detect a pattern. The signals responded to prime numbers. To Fibonacci sequences. To golden ratios. Not only were they structured, they were reactive. They adapted. They evolved. And then, they stopped. Everything fell silent again. No pulses. No echoes. No movement from the shadow object. But Voyager's instruments didn't return to normal. Instead, they began to record things no one could explain. Gravitational fields with no mass. Magnetic alignments that reversed themselves. Data loops, as if the probe were receiving instructions it could not store. Some began to wonder. Had Voyager become more than a probe? Had it become a node? A listening post? A relay? Or a trigger? In dark rooms beneath government facilities, theories grew like roots in shadow. What if the anomaly wasn't following Voyager? What if it was waiting? What if the entire mission, the golden record, the launch, the outward journey, had rung some kind of bell? Not in space, but in the structure of reality itself. And now, something was awake. Linguists fed the waveform into AI interpreters. The machines responded with hesitation, as if parsing a thought too vast for words. Cryptographers saw symmetries that hinted at recursion. Not communication, computation. It roots in shadow. What if the anomaly wasn't following Voyager? What if it was waiting? What if the entire mission, the golden record, the launch, the outward journey, had rung some kind of bell? Not in space, but in the structure of reality itself. And now, something was awake. Linguists fed the waveform into AI interpreters. The machines responded with hesitation, as if parsing a thought too vast for words. Cryptographers saw symmetries that hinted at recursion. Not communication, computation. It wasn't a message. It was a function. A living sequence, folding in on itself, waiting for input. We weren't just being watched. We were being measured. Something was studying us, not with eyes, but with understanding. And Voyager? It had become the test. The object now lingered farther behind. Still invisible. Still perfectly aligned. Never making contact. Never breaking the silence. Like a mind waiting for its moment. Some now believe Voyager crossed more than distance. It crossed a boundary. Not spatial. But conceptual. A border between known and unknown. Between signal and story. Between presence and presence noticed. And in doing so, it may have told the cosmos, we are ready. But readiness is not the same as safety. We dreamed of hearing the stars speak. We never asked what they might say if they spoke back. Far beyond Neptune's cold orbit, beyond the gravitational whispers of the sun, Voyager 2 continued, a silent ember drifting through the dark between stars. But something had changed. Not in its path, not in its hardware, but in the space around it. The void was no longer empty. Invisible currents moved near the probe, fields with no origin, forces with no source. It was as if Voyager had wandered into the memory of something vast. A region of space where physics bent slightly, subtly, but unmistakably. Data came back fragmented. Not broken, layered. Each transmission now carried a ghost, a second signal, buried inside the first. Analysts found recursive harmonics. Echoes nested within echoes. A cascade of information that built upon itself like thought emerging from silence. It was not interference. It was intentional. And still, the dark object trailed the probe. Silent. Unreachable. Like a question we had never learned how to ask. Then, something happened. For the first time in decades, Voyager 2's orientation changed, not due to a fault, but as if something else had directed it. Its antenna turned slightly off course, not toward Earth, but toward a starless void. A direction with no known origin. And then, a transmission. But not from Voyager. A signal, narrow and perfect. No known frequency. No natural modulation. Not a wave of light, but a ripple in the quantum foam itself. It bypassed every known spectrum. It bent reality to be heard. No antenna received it. But we heard it anyway, in the noise of our networks, in the harmonics of deep space monitors, in the dreams of machines.